Hi, everyone. I thought I'd start a minute before the BOE. Yeah, Danny Blanchflower is a smart cookie. He used to be a guest. Let's see here. BOE coming up in a minute, everybody. Here it is, going
Hello,
into it.
Dale.
Hey,
Hello,
how are you?
everybody.
Looks
I'm
like a
good.
leak. It's railing prior. So here we
Well,
are.
yeah.
Just
Let's see.
popped 20.
I think the main thing to remember is that the inflation print was a lot hotter than expected last time, and that definitely complicates things for the Bank of England. And it's not just that it came above expectation; it starts rising now from the previous print. That's a problem that they have. So. A very difficult situation to navigate. My opinion, I said on the flow show, I think the risk is that they are more hawkish than expected. But let's see in 10 seconds.
That's what
Um,
Ryan thought too, that they'd be more
well,
hawkish.
great, bold minds think alike, right? 425,
Yes.
7-2 split. Okay.
I heard that still.
Let's see. Yeah, Mark is not moving that much afterwards. It was
New
as
highs.
expected. Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, new highs.
Yes,
I mean, not new highs. Last night was the new high.
it has to take out those highs. They're very close though, so could be done.
Look at the RSI reading on it.
Hmm.
They went to 7-2 from the 6-3 expected.
Yes.
So that was a hawkish rate hike, I
And
guess,
well,
right?
one thing. Hey, good morning, guys. And
Hey.
with the sterling moving higher, the euro pound is actually moving a little lower and pivoting off of a 618 retracement, which should keep some downside pressure on the euro, especially when the euro hit a brand new high overnight and then failed in European trade. So I think the euro sterling is going to turn lower if the cable can hold on to a bid here. Anyway, I'll shut up now because
No,
the
it's
rest of the team
okay.
is here. I'll be back.
Okay. I think the pounds are short, and this is why on multiple time frames. Look at this. 1, 2, 3. I think it has something going on an even shorter term. I know it made new highs. No, it didn't make new highs. All right. 1, 2, 3. You could see it pretty clearly, coming off pretty good, leaving a nice little wick. Buy the rumor, sell the fact, my trading warrior brothers. You know, if you think
Yeah.
if you get up at 4 in the morning for, I don't know, 50 years,
Right.
you get dementia. Getting up too early leads to dementia. Anyway, let's talk about some other things since we know that the cable's going to fail here, and I'm sure everyone's short with me. So, what do you think about this? I mean, this is really one of the ugliest candles I've seen in S&Ps for a while. I thought we'd get to 4,100. We couldn't even get to 4,100. I've been hearing people on TV saying, yeah, it's going to be, including my good friend Jim Walsh, should be a good sale at 42. Market's not accommodating people that wanted to sell it higher. I'd be very surprised to see this high taken out that we saw yesterday. I don't even if Yellen backs off of what she said or things calm down in the banks. That is an pretty ugly outside day after the Fed. What do you think? Risk? I know K-Man's in a conference. Ryan's here. How about you, Stel? I know there's a lot of uh, a lot of bears out there right now.
Yes,
You think it matters? That's
that's
the
the
only
main
bullish
problem.
thing. Yeah.
That's the problem for bears, that there's a lot of bears and CTA is positioned quite bearish, actually very bearish. So it feels like the path of least resistance is once more to the upside, even though it doesn't make that much sense. That's the thing. So if you ask me, what do I do with the S&P here? I want to buy 39.35. 39.35 is close to here because I think we're going to be squeezing. It just feels that way, and every dip has been bought and it's just trading. Equities are very resilient. We say this over and over, right? And you know, when something can't go lower, it's going to go higher. So that's my view. It doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense, but just this feel that I get, you know, from, I don't know what you call it, experience, whatever you want to call it. It
Yeah,
feels like
trader
it wants to.
intuition.
Yeah,
Trader
sometimes it's
intuition.
right, sometimes it's wrong, but I feel like this wants to
You
squeeze
gotta
higher.
trust it,
Yeah,
don't
the
you, man? Or then
Felios.
we did all this time for nothing if you don't trust it,
Yeah.
right? So yen, double bottom, or another low coming. Who wants to take that? Ryan, you're a yen guy. Maybe he's gone back to trading.
He's probably updating everything.
Oh yeah. What do you
And
think, Blake?
K-Man's out. He's on
Yeah.
a conference call. So hey, I'm here to help too. So
Well, you know what? Let's see. Right. Okay. So your thoughts on yen here then, Blake. I know you wrote this down like a champ from 35 from up in this range. Are you still working the short side down here?
thank you. I am actually, ironically, I'm not short dollar yen right now. But what I did is I pivoted from dollar yen shorts and I took the remainder of it off yesterday following the FOMC. So I closed out completely, and it was a really, I mean, I have to, I will admittedly pat myself on the back on that one. I traded it 3 times in size lower over the course of the last couple of weeks. But what my transition was is and still is at this point is I'm transitioning into Euro yen, Aussie yen, and other yen pairs. So and that was due to the FOMC decision. So now that we're past that, I am looking to reestablish some dollar yen shorts. I just got to figure out where to do it, and I'm not 100% confident that this is the place I want to do it today. I think I want to be short over the next couple of days, but so anyway.
Okay. All right. Here's the quiz for the day to all our attendees. What do you see?
Ooh, okay. I'm not saying anything. Oh, are you asking? You're not even asking us.
No,
All right,
no.
I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna shut up and I'm listening.
What do you see?
Don't you dare say bad things about
All
silver.
right. You
I
say trend line.
love to short silver. Love
Al
shorting
had a
silver.
silver tie on yesterday.
He's done a lot of work and he has to retrace a little bit, I think.
Okay. All right.
Does it start with a
Anyway.
W? How about an A?
How about it is, most 3 drives are wedges. In case you haven't noticed.
It's true.
So who is Vanna White? Oh, who's Pat Sajak? All right, so you guys know this formation. So anyway, I thought I'd show it to you. And something else that might build the case is that if this gold silver ratio is kind of just like an ABC, and that it's going to start heading up, it's had a bad week so far. But if we're going to turn later in the week, and when I look at this, all right, one more lesson, and then I'm through teaching. What kind of high is this, guys? There you go. And what does that imply? No, it's not a hammer. If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning. There, Michael Bergman. Yeah, that it implies that there could be another new high. Markets usually don't peak with, what was the momentum here? Just a shade under 80. It's pretty good mo. And look at what it held. My goodness, look at that confluence on the 50 and 200 day. All right, so
that's a big level that needs to hold, though, right?
Yeah,
it needs to hold.
All right, so we've shown you some nice things this morning already. So who's going to step up and take our trader funding program, sign up for an assessment or join? the Forex analytics community for your own good. Jeff, are you? You're joining, Jeff? Okay. When? Today? Welcome to. Oh, okay. And Richard Adams getting used to the rules. Okay, Andrew, glad to have you part. Oh, you already joined. How about some new members? Anyone out there? I know there's a lot of people that benefited from what we just talked about. I don't believe you, Forex trader. Oh, you want to join for the 100K? Okay. All right. All right. So, you reap what you sow. Okay. You plant good seeds. Hi, Mike. And you get a good crop. If you don't plant any seeds, don't expect anything to grow. And that includes you as a trader. Okay. Take it away, Blake.
All right. I will.
You
One
know,
second.
If you want, Blake, I can say a couple of things about the Fed yesterday.
Not really.
Okay.
I'll pass. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, Stelios,
No,
please
go ahead.
take it away.
Stella, say a few things about the Fed.
I
Sure.
love harassing
No,
Stelios.
you do. You're mean.
I love it. But
He's
no,
mean.
Stel, you
I
have
think, Blake, I don't
you-
like when you're mean to my, my bromance guy.
Sorry.
All right.
But hey, Stelios,
Gonna
you just
drive
came
to
off this flow
Scottsdale.
show. You guys had a lot to really talk about. Give us
Yeah.
a quick recap of what you guys were discussing there, and then I'll take over.
Sure. So we were talking about mainly the Fed, right? The S&P also hiked 50, Norges Bank hiked 25, but the main event was the Fed. And it's all about interpretation for yesterday's Fed because it had a bit for both sides, both the dovish and the hawkish. I personally interpret it as being dovish. But Jay Powell did say that the prospects of cutting rates this year are slim. I can't remember his exact words, but we have to remember the market's pricing 3 cuts this year, 325 base point cuts, which seems excessive at the moment. So Jay Powell kind of talked about that and made a point of stressing that cuts are probably not coming this year. But having said that, this is the Fed. And they can change what they say, especially if the environment changes. So for me, it was dovish. For me, it kind of prepared the ground for the peak rate, which is coming. I think we have one more hike. If that, the market's pricing, I think half the hike now. But I think we have one more, and then that's it. The big question remaining: how long do they stay on that high rate? But before the pivot, they're going to have to prepare the ground. And for me, saying that they're going to be purely data dependent and, cuts were considered, sorry, no, not a cut, a hold was considered. It kind of slowly turns things around, and they don't want to go from one day to the next, from hiking to saying we're going to be cutting. So for me, this is the beginning of the end. Do I think they're going to be cutting this year? Maybe. Do I think the market's first going to take out maybe a cut or two before it starts pricing them in? I think that's most probable. So I think it was dovish, but the risk remains that the market unprices. No, how do you say that? Stops pricing these 3 cuts, reduces that for this year first before it starts pricing cuts again. So I want to be selling dollar rallies. I want to be yeah.
Stelios, so let me ask you, like the rest of the market is starting to price in rate cuts into this year. That's where the rubber is going to meet the road. Like if you want to be selling a currency this year, you want to be doing it on the basis that they're going to start reversing their hiking what's the damn word? It's
cycle.
Thank you. It's 5 a.m. in the morning here. Yeah, exactly. They're going to be reversing this hiking cycle, which I think is going to be the case for several central banks. Do you think the Fed will be the first to do so? And if you do, it is a short. But if you don't, and you think they're going to keep rates higher for longer, and it's going to be other central banks that are going to do the rolling over, then you're going to have another thing coming. So that means you are implying that you think the Fed is going to buckle at the knees like a bunch of freaking wussies and start cutting rates at the end of the year, right?
Well, the question is compared to which other central bank? The ECB, the Bank of England. I don't think the ECB was going to be cutting before the Fed. We do have a divergence at the moment. And look at the Bank of England. They're hiking 25, obviously, but inflation is going higher. How can they cut with inflation going higher? You know, I just said this sentence and then I realized it's the BOE we're talking about. They can do anything.
But you know, you look at like the RBA, you've got the Bank of Canada. Those might be they're the first central banks to really,
yes,
kind of stick the brakes. And so maybe some of these commodity currencies are the ones that you want to be selling. Like you can see it in the Euro Aussie, it's ripping higher. Euro Kiwi, even the Aussie dollar is barely bouncing. So these commodity currencies really look weak. I don't know. I personally would be plugging against some other currencies versus the dollar at this point. I'm not a believer, and this is just my take. And obviously, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this. But I do not believe the Fed's gonna buckle. I think Jay Powell's he's gonna make a name for himself by really putting this. He's gonna really try his hardest to put the genie toothpaste back in the bottle. Wait,
if we were
inflation, genie, toothpaste back in the. I'm trying to use a bunch of analogies at once at 5 a.m. So whatever, you guys know what I'm saying.
What you're saying makes perfect sense if it was 30 years ago. Now, as things stand, unfortunately, I think politics is the main driver of monetary policy, and unfortunately, there's going to be loads of pressure on Jay Powell, especially if the situation worsens in the US, both with banks and with the economic data. Which, let's face it, if you take out employment, and we've talked about this many times, everything else is turning and has turned. So it's a very tough one. It's a very tough one. I think they shouldn't be cutting. Definitely shouldn't be cutting. At least not with inflation up here. But I fear that they will.
Yeah, but okay, going back to political pressure, I would argue that if Trump was still in office, Jay Powell would be singing a different tune. But with Biden in the office right now, I think he's got a free reign to do whatever he wants. And I don't want to make this a political show either, because we try to avoid that like the plague here. I'm just saying that I think he's got more flexibility at this point. So, that's my take on that. So
it'd be better for Biden if they took out the October low real soon. And a lot of Elliotians are saying that'll end 4, and then we could begin in advance. That'll be 5 down there.
Is that in the rallying?
And then we're rallying. No, S&Ps better.
Oh, S&P, okay.
Better for the to have some type of mini crash, capitulation, and the market coming back into next summer, rather than holding together and head down into the elections.
Yep.
Right.
Hey, Dale, do you still have control of the charts here?
Yeah, you take.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if
Stelios
had it, because I don't mind taking it right from Stelios's hands, but for you,
but
I don't want to do that.
By the way, you want to hear the funniest quote of the day?
Yes, please give it to us.
SNB's, the Swiss National Bank's Jordan, he said, "We must avoid monopolies in the Swiss financial sector," which is exactly what they have done, whatever they created. Hey, that's so funny. Yeah,
right.
Is he a gnome? Give me a definition of a gnome, Stel. I talked to this guy from Switzerland. He never even heard of it.
The gnome? You mean the little things they put on the garden?
I think so. Yeah, isn't that what they call the Swiss?
Yeah, but those aren't you talking about something that's Irish?
Okay.
I thought they were Swiss. They were, they were called, the bankers. They were gnomes. See, anyway. Okay.
Okay. Hey, speaking of the Swissy, and the dollar Swiss, we actually, after they raised rates, you see that the dollar actually pivoted. The dollar Swiss, this is a pretty big reaction off the 78% retracement. But I was going to say that the dollar is seeing that almost across the board. You saw Europe push the envelope a little bit in some of these pairs, like the euro hit a new high, hit the 78% retracement and reversed. The Swissy did as well. US dollar, Norwegian krona hit a new low, hit a trend line. But I guess the point I'm trying to make here is a lot of new highs and lows were pushed in the currency market. And even you can look at the dollar index in general. We hit a 78% retracement, new low, very divergent relative strength. You can see that right there. And if you didn't feel that bounce coming in Europe, I would have looked at that relative strength. We were very, very oversold. Now, what do we do from here? That's going to be the question mark. And I think it has mostly to do with risk. If you guys if you're looking for like a dollar reversal in the dollar for the dollar to catch a bid, frankly, I think it's very clear. Looking at this chart, I would know exactly where the dollar squeeze starts. And that's going to be right above this shaded zone, the support zone that you see here. Once you get back above here, this is where a squeeze starts. Now, I want to ask you guys this, the team here, what could kickstart a dollar squeeze today? What do you think?
Today?
Today. It's Thursday. Today's Thursday, May 23rd, 2023.
Another bank failing? I don't know.
Check the crystal ball.
No. I'm going to what
Russia invading Poland.
Okay. Now you guys are speaking silly. What do you think could really move the dollar here higher? Okay. Well,
risk off.
I would say risk off. That would be like my simple answer. And one thing, if you look at the S&P, I don't want to dismiss the fact, and you can look at the NASDAQ or the Dow and look at other indexes as well. But if you look at the S&P showed a really big failure yesterday. We hit a new high. We hit channel resistance. If you are ForexAnalytix subscribers, you saw that analysis come through midday about the resistance,
but it didn't accommodate sellers where they wanted
40,
to sell
50.
it.
What's that?
They didn't accommodate the sellers that wanted to sell it at 41, 42.
No, but it caught all the buyers off guard, right? So it caught everybody that chased the market higher, looking for new highs off guard. But the problem that I see here in the markets, just in general, you can see the failure at 40, 50. Channel resistance. The problem that we have in the markets right now is it's sustaining its losses, and I think that's a bigger deal than anything. And so all we need is, Stelios, you said it, maybe another bank failure, but just some more risk aversion. And the de facto currency of the dollar will become the safe haven, trade, and you'll see the dollar come back into demand. One of the things that kind of clued me in that the stock market was going to reverse yesterday. Does anybody know what that is? If you're in the ForexAnalytix chat rooms, you know what I'm talking about, because it outperformed the whole FOMC press conference. Does anybody know what currency that was that really tipped us off that stocks were going to sell off? Anybody here that's not in the ForexAnalytix community that knew that? Rick, you're in the ForexAnalytix community. I see your answers. Yes, it's the dollar Mexican peso. For those of you that did not know, this dollar Mex was actually sustaining gains throughout the whole FOMC meeting. It took a little dip right there at the very, very end just to whip out some stops, but it popped right back up. And as soon as the stock market rolled over, it showed its colors and it ripped up about 1,500 pips. So the dollar Mexican peso is actually firming again right now, and it's nearing its highs of the session. So, and I want to show you something else. K-Man's not here to talk about it, but the dollar rand You know, you could add a bunch of political issues that the South Africa is dealing with as well, but it's also at really key support. You see these emerging market currencies come under pressure today. I would really, really second guess being long risk. So let me say that again. If you see the Mexican peso or the dollar max start to bounce, because it's already bouncing off of 618 if you haven't seen it right here, right? If the dollar Mexican peso starts bouncing, you start to see that move higher. You see the US dollar South African rand start to move higher. My 2 cents is the S&P is going to be, you know, this, and remember, we are at the 200-day moving average. We're going to be threatening a breakdown today. And I would be very, very careful because it, you know, the currency market is a really spectacular vehicle for indication of what's to come. Because remember, we're dealing in the currency market. It is money. And you all know this, money moves the markets, period, end of story. So when you start to see the currency market shift like this, it really should get your attention if you are trading stocks or commodities or bonds or whatever the hell else you happen to be trading. Anyway, I wanted to clue you guys in that because, again, if you weren't in the Forex Analytics community and you didn't pick up on that, we were all over that yesterday. So, Ryan, you know, I know you were on the Flow show, and now I think you probably got all the BOE stuff out of the way because I know you're in our community talking about what's happening with the Bank of England, sending out tweets, putting in news in our news flow section of ForexAnalytix. Any takeaways that you have here with the Bank of England meeting today before we turn it over to Dale?
Yeah, there's a bit of a differing opinion of whether there's any sort of hawkish or dovish twist to it. I think it's a touch hawkish. I said they might go the 7-2 instead of the 6-3. That's probably on the inflation data. I'm still of the mind there will be hiking rates higher than they expect. Inflation will be going higher than they expect. It's just a question now of whether the market expects that or not. You made a good point, and it's something we both me and Still wrote about at the very beginning of the year, how crosses are going to be more important. You know, if the Fed are on pause and the BOE are going to keep hiking, there's your divergence. Then you've got your divergence between the ECB and the BOE. You got your divergence, like you said, in the crosses, Euro versus Aussie, Euro versus CAD. You know, you're saying these pairs are flying. Well, they're flying because one central bank is hiking more than the others. Yeah. You know, and the euro is strong. And until that changes, you're talking about the risk trade and your Dixie, that's all going to be down to what the euro does. If the euro closes this week above 109, I think we're heading to 110 pretty quickly after.
I wouldn't argue that point. And I have to agree that but no, and you know, I'd be closing my shorts then too. So just that's a good point though. So thank you for that update, Ryan. K-Man I know is not here. He's not going to be here. He'll be back tomorrow. Stelios, any last minute thoughts before we turn it over to Dale?
Angie's not here anyway.
Oh, so the goddess of grain is not here yet?
Yeah, I guess she got buried in a bushel before she.
Oh, okay. She got buried.
She didn't eat her Wheaties.
You think you're funny? I think you're funny. I actually think you're funny. I find you quite humorous, Dale.
Last minute thoughts.
Well, last minute thoughts would be we do have jobless claims coming out. Remember, yeah. I think one of the things that we have to know, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret. My wife has a business that caters to local. She curates gifts and stuff from local businesses, and then she repackages them all and sells them as corporate gifts. A lot of realtors and Meta has ordered company gifts from her. Different things, right? Facebook did, and different companies like that. Her business has come to a screeching halt this month. Just so you all know, it's really crazy, and it's quite wild to see. that tells me, and it's kind of like a one of those anecdotal, indications that things are really starting to slow, but it's hitting corporate America pretty hard. And because it's like something she hasn't seen in 10 years. So the reason why I point that out is because I think data is going to start weakening here in the US quite substantially. It's a matter of timing when, like you're going to start to see all this economic data probably within the next couple of months roll over. I do believe that we're going to be, in a recessionary type period. That's why I want to look at this, let me get back over
Andrew's
here.
here.
But by the way, Blake, I just read the
Yes.
headline: Accenture to cut 2.5% of their workforce. So exactly what you're saying, right? It's
Yeah.
it's spreading everywhere.
It is. I think it's going to be. I'm sorry, I'm not going to get to all the things I want to pull up, but damn it. I wish I had more screens to show you guys with this, with what's happening. Let's just watch the S&P and the dollar index. Those are the two that really matter right at this moment in time. Damn it.
Okay, here we go.
All right. Watch the data here. So once you start to see this jobless claims data start to really
191K. So
yeah, it's
97 expected, but it's not big deal.
It's amazing how strong the jobs market is. And I know everybody's like, well, people got 2 and 3 jobs or whatnot, but it's amazing how strong it's been and how difficult it's going to make the Fed's job. I mean, the Fed's already got a tough job. I'd hate to be in Jay Powell's shoes right now, dealing with inflation, dealing with a banking crisis. He's raising rates to a point where he's starting to break things, and things are breaking. Obviously, you're looking at the U.S. banking system as is really a product of what him and central bankers are doing globally. And then you got economic data that won't roll over. The Fed really wants to see data roll over. It'll slow down inflation, kind of slow down the economy in general, and then he'll feel like his job's getting done, but it's not, and that's a scary thing. Dale, is your interview or person here?
Yes.
Oh, she is here. Okay, great. Okay, I just want to make sure before I turn over. So, guys, gals, I know Dale mentioned the trader funding program, but really, if you want to be like involved in one of the most active trading communities, like literally in the markets here, here's the ForexAnalytix community. You don't have to join the traders funding program. You'll get it because if you're going to trade our money, we want you in our community, because this way you can talk to me and Stelios and Ryan and K-Man and Dale and whoever else. You can talk to us here, but this is the most active community out. This is just over the last 30 minutes, so you can just see all the chatting that goes on here. Try out ForexAnalytix. It's only $1 for 10 days. Plus you get all this great analysis, all these great tools, live squawk, risk management tools, our internal news flow analysis on 30 different instruments, and updated to your cell phone, because you get mobile apps. What other company offers you a mobile app? So check it out. ForexAnalytix.com. Dale, it's all yours.
Just do it.
Just do it. Like Nike. There's a new movie called Nike coming out. Or Air. Okay. It's called Air.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't wait to see it. It looks great.
Matt Damon's in it.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. All right.
All right. Thank you, team. Guys. Hey, guys, thank you very much. Ryan, Stel, Blake.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Angie, welcome back to F.A.C.E. How are you, Goddess?
Oh, good. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be back. I'm just kind of running through. We get weekly export sales that drop at 8:30 in the morning. So I was just pulling that up to see what the week looked like, but doing pretty good. No complaints.
Okay. And the grains have been under pressure as of late.
Yeah.
I know some guys, maybe you could explain it to me. I think they used to be in the business, but they use cycles, and they were talking about a June low, which, isn't that far away, a couple months away. Why would someone cyclically be looking for a low in June? Would that be because all the planting is done, and that's when the stress could come on the crop during the growing season here?
Oh, like, yeah, I guess. I mean, I've never really, I guess the June low would make sense as we would work up higher towards pollination. I feel like
Okay.
seasonally for us, we tend to get a little bit of a rally here, and I think we'll continue to see one. I think one of the biggest things that we're looking at in corn, especially, is that we've had the managed money kind of evacuate the market. So we lost our CFTC report for all of February, and that just so
Oh,
happened to
that's right.
coincide.
So they
Yeah, that
stopped
just
trading. They stopped trading the grains when they couldn't get the numbers, right?
Well, they liquidated. I mean, whether or not it was a cause and effect or just a happy little coincidence there. We've seen this massive liquidation in corn, especially record amount of liquidation here over the last 4 weeks. Soy or wheat, excuse me, has already been, kind
Yeah,
of
under pressure.
a short. And so soybeans are kind of next on the block, we feel like. But I do feel like we're going to be working our way, I would say, more towards a short-term low here. Like we've been oversold in corn, which we've bounced back pretty
Yeah, we're
extensively
bouncing back.
over the last few trading days, especially on the May board.
Yeah.
But it's interesting just simply because we are working our way more into the Northern Hemisphere weather market. Right at the same time, we have all of the issues at hand with the outside market structure and things of that nature. So it's a big question now as to what happens, just simply because in grains, we really do rely on that outside money flow to kind of give us that extra juice.
What made up for Ukraine and Russia wheat supplies that drove a bear market in wheat?
Well, Russia ended up acquiring is probably maybe a better word, a good portion of Ukraine's wheat that was produced in the eastern part of the country.
Yes.
A large amount of Ukrainian wheat is actually produced in the oblasts that they had invaded last year. And so you saw, several million, probably 10 to 15 million potentially metric ton just kind of be acquired by the Russians at low cost or no cost, you could say. And so that's really kind of what's propelled their
So it
production.
really
Their
wasn't
production has
lost. It really wasn't
no,
lost to the market.
no,
That's
it
what
was
you're saying.
found. It was just found by the Russians. And so, one of the most interesting things that we're seeing right now is that Russia is offering cash wheat into the global market, nearly $2 a bushel lower than where cash wheat values were directly after the invasion.
Wow,
And so
that
I'm
is
a cash grain trader by trade. That's my background is
right.
physical bushels.
Right.
And cash is king. And so when you have cheap supply, which Russia's readily supplying into the market, and then Ukraine, obviously, the Ukrainian farmers just been hit. They're the ones that are taking a good amount of brunt on the cheap pricing. Simply because they're getting $3 to $4 a bushel versus the $7 a bushel on the board. And so that's kept folks that need wheat able to buy it relatively cheaply out of the Black Sea. And then Australia also came in with a record crop this year.
Okay.
And that was just harvested here a couple months ago. So basically, we still have a massive supply of wheat able to work its way out of Russia over the next few months, and a big supply out of Australia that's going to work its way out of the market over the next few months. And that will carry us well into harvest, with the $1 million question being, what does Northern Hemisphere production look like as we work our way forward with the Southern Plains drought? There's dry weather in Europe. Obviously Ukrainian plantings will be down. Russian production is going to be down. There'll be a few things that'll probably provide a bullish catalyst to this market. But if cash values stay cheap in the world, futures have a hard time rallying.
Yeah. Do you think we could see $12 beans down here, Angie?
The potential is there, but speaking of cash markets, that's one thing that I'm really watching, because the Brazilian supply is coming into the market and they just produced a record crop. So we're kind of in the process of trying to work a watermelon through a garden hose when it comes to that. And it's weighing heavy on their cash values. So similar to wheat, if you have a big supply of cheap physical product, obviously you're not running out. However, there are a lot of logistical limitations and things of that nature that'll keep soybeans. They're not just all going to come into the world market right away, and we have a very tight supply here in the U.S. I'm going to struggle with us seeing, the fund length concerns me. I think that could be one thing that could push us towards 12. But I don't feel like they're really actively involved in the November market near as much. And so I think the idea that we could see a reduction in plantings, potential problems with the growing season, probably see a reduction in, carry out here to closer to 200 million bushels, which is basically pipeline minimum. All of these things are going to kind of support this market. But like I said, as we've seen in corn and as we've seen in wheat and other commodities, if the speculators decide to kind of evacuate, if we get some, just a sell off and the technicals start to break down, what you think is low ends up, you wish you'd have sold there sometimes, and so we'll be watching, but I think this market's going to find a low. It's lost $1 here in a very, very quick amount of time. And it's way too early to do that. We haven't even put a seed in the ground.
Is Brazil having a good crop? Could that be what's pressuring grain? Beans?
Well, Brazil's bean crop is about 1 billion bushels larger than what we had a year ago.
That's a lot.
To put that into perspective, we will have 200 million bushels left over in the US at the end of this marketing year. So basically the increase in Brazil's production is 5 times that. I mean, it's something that is difficult to wrap our minds around just simply because it's happened so quickly. Over the last few years, I mean, you've basically added 2 billion worth of production in the last decade out of Brazil, and they have the potential to continue to grow by 10%. Lula's traveling to China next week. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so it's that's interesting. So Lula's done some things right. Farming seems to have thrived under him.
Yeah, it had prior. Agriculture had really grown prior. And then of course it did it under Bolsonaro. He was if you talk to or if you look at production as a whole, you can't say that it didn't, whether the producers made money or whether there was growth or all those questions can go depending on your politics. Like a lot of farmers will struggle with the Lula versus the Bolsonaro thing, just like anywhere else. But just looking at simple production growth, yes, it's been a huge explosion. Now, obviously, the market structure has been one that's wanted that to happen. China has really, really supported infrastructure growth and all of that. And then you have Brazil's ag minister right now is a former president of the country's soybean producer association. I mean, he's a farmer. And is going to do a lot to make sure that, not only are they improving infrastructure, they're able to continue to grow their production because they have a lot of degraded pasture available. They say that they can plant soybeans into and end up with a reasonably large crop. So it's definitely something to watch, especially considering the US relies really heavily. Half of our demand structure in soybeans is exports. The other half is crush. With biodiesel, renewable diesel, and other renewable fuels kind of seeing an increase in demand, we'll obviously see we'll see a shift, I think, more towards a domestic demand structure in soybeans, but it's always bumpy when you see a transition in any way. And we're kind of going through a bit of a global transition.
Another supply chain transition from relying upon, kind of like semiconductors, don't have them produced overseas, build them here.
Yeah, so we'll do that. I mean, similar to what you saw in ethanol. I mean, ethanol was a 5 billion bushel boom in corn. It won't be quite to that level. You're talking, 400 million bushels worth of soybeans. But with the growth in Brazil and things of that nature, we will need to bring some of that demand home. Yes.
Argentina coming with a good wheat crop, is that also a factor weighing on?
Argentina, we'll have to see. I mean, they look like they're going to see an increase in rain. Argentina suffered from one of the worst droughts seen in 60 years there over the last year. So their wheat crop last year was basically decimated. We're working our way now towards corn and soybean harvest in the country with wheat planting directly after. There is talk now that we'll see an uptick in rain, and with La Nina breaking down and a potential transition towards El Nino.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah,
Angie,
it's a good thing. Hopefully.
Because this is one of the coldest, wettest winters I can remember in California. That did not remind me of La Nina. It reminded
No.
me more of El Nino years.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at a pretty sharp transition. I'm not a meteorologist, but those much smarter than me who are, the models are pointing that we could see a transition as quickly as May into El Nino, but realistically, it'll be later this summer into the fall. El Nino
Well, there you
in
go.
the
There's your
past,
June low.
yeah, that could
Okay.
be,
And
like,
and
but it
some
tends to be
weather stress in the Midwest with that happening. By
there could be, yeah, there's a potential there. It's mixed. We've seen
you
a
know what?
couple, like that's
We
the
just
hard
cased
part.
it all out. We cased it out.
Did
So
you? All
Bill,
right, so we'll get that. That'll be, yeah, there will be, if we do run into weather stress. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing right now is like, we're in this period of potential transition, but we have a lot of buts, or ifs that we have to work through. And so it's not surprising to see the funds kind of trim back some of their length with everything else that's going on. It's it's not surprising. But it does open us up to some pretty sharp gains potentially, but even more so, I think some real volatile moves here in the weeks and months ahead.
okay. I think that we covered a lot of ground. Covered the globe, Russia, South America. We're talking about potential change in the current out there in the Pacific. That's going to, I remember many El Nino years in, when I was in the Midwest and trading. So a lot of things coming together for, I consider it an asset class now, Angie.
Mhm.
And people are starting to look at them more. That's why they came up with ETFs on
Yeah.
soybeans. And with your business model, I know you mainly work with commercials and growers. Is there any reason that you would want retail traders or anything to contact you? Or
Oh yeah, I mean, if they want insight into the market and what's actually happening in the physical market, because the cash leads. I mean, in grain markets, it's basis, spreads, and futures. 1, 2, 3, and so if you really want to talk to someone that actually is paying attention to what's happening in the physical, and what that could mean, instead of kind of the 1,000-foot view, that's what we're here for.
okay, so you do have, okay, so here I see
Yeah,
Angie's morning markets or
yeah,
cash. All right, so this is going to be valuable this growing season, in my
yeah.
extreme
We'll
opinion.
definitely be able to share insight into everything that's happening in the growing season. We work with hundreds of farmers across the country and have connections around the world. It's really kind of one of those things that our job is to be on top of it for our growers, to help them maximize their margins and come out of a year as profitably as they possibly can. But that information that we get, the insight that we have from that really can help those on the outside looking in.
Okay. I really appreciate your views and coming here and sharing it. And I think that um, you're going to be getting a lot more attention this summer and fall, Angie. People are going to be paying
Well,
attention.
we're ready for it. So
Yeah.
yeah, if anyone needs anything at all, never hesitate to reach out. You can find us, like on the website right here. You can find me
Yeah.
on Twitter or pretty much anywhere.
At Goddess of Grain, and you can't eat silver or gold,
No,
but
you
you
cannot.
can eat protein gold, which is
That is true.
soybeans.
Yeah,
Great catching up.
100%.
Yeah, great catching up with you, Angie.
Thanks for having me. I always enjoy it.
Yeah, well, I'll send you a little message on Twitter, and I hope you and all your clients and readers have a prosperous year ahead.
Thank you.
All right. So that's Angie for you guys, and follow her, Setzer, at Goddess of Grains, and check out her website. It's Consuroy, CONSUSROI.com. Keep your head in the grains. They're great technical markets too. So, you go back to the old school traders, and they said currencies and grains were very good technical markets. So that's a wrap. Remember, don't just count your bushels, count your blessings. And see everyone to wrap up the week tomorrow. Thanks again, Angie. Adios. You're welcome. Goddess of Grains, Nuno. At Goddess of Grains. Got it? Okay.